blastmusic247.com. We're changing the industry one artist at a time.
Welcome back to another episode of Moments with Myra, the space where we have real conversations about healing, growth, and finding peace in the middle of life's hardest moments. Today, I'm joined by a woman whose story and message will speak straight to your soul, Mona Griffin, the author of Break the Cycle, How to Heal. Ooh, this is a good title, Mona. How to Heal When You Have Been Hurt by Family.
Yeah.
In her book, Mona opens up about the deep wounds that can come from the people that are closest to us and how she found the courage to heal, forgive, and create a new legacy of love. We're talking about breaking generational patterns, setting healthy boundaries, and reclaiming your peace, even when the hurt runs deep. So grab your tea, take a breath, and lean in. This conversation is one that you don't want to miss. Mona, thank you so much for being here with me today. I really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
No problem. So, Mona, what inspired you to write the book, Break the Cycle? Was there a particular moment in your life or experience that sparked it, or was this just something that you thought would be a good read?
No, it was definitely a particular moment in my life. Well, because I came from a lot of hurt. And so the particular moment that broke open within me is when I noticed that my daughter was following the same patterns that I was. Mm-hmm. And so once I really seen that, I had to stop and take a moment back to ask myself, what am I doing wrong? What are the things that I said that I would never carry on from the pain that was dealt to me, that I'm still carrying it on unconsciously, that my daughter is following those patterns. And so once I realized that, I knew that it was time for me to stump the stigma and do what I had to do within myself in order to break the cycle within my bloodline.
Yes. And you know what? You hit the nail on the head when you said stop the cycle.
Yes.
I can speak for your family, but I know growing up, there was a mentality of what happens in this house stays in this house. Mm-hmm. And so for that reason, I think a lot of us didn't even really realize the trauma that we received until like later on in our adult lives. And so I think that it was really, really important that you noticed some of the changes that your daughter was going through and how you associated that back to the things that you had went through.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, the title alone, Break the Cycle, is powerful. Mm-hmm. What cycle are you referring to, and how did you recognize the cycle in your own life, even before your order?
Right. So break the cycle, it is very powerful, because I believe that when, we grew up hearing generational curses, mm-hmm. but the curse is actually a cycle and it can't be broken. And so that's why I came up with the title Break the Cycle. And but long before then, when I was a little girl, I knew some things wasn't right. You know how you just feel it, but yet you're told to be seen and not heard. Mm-hmm. And so we couldn't talk, we couldn't express ourselves. We just couldn't do those things. And what goes in the house stays in the house. And so I tell people that silence was killing me. The silence was. And so that's where the statement suffering in silence come from, because we want to talk, but the shame keeps us bound. The embarrassment keeps us bound. The family image keeps us bound, because we have to hold a family image to show that we are perfect in all society. So I tell the community, we need to start a campaign and say, F society, because society is not going to be there in your darkest days. You know, society only pushes you along and tell you to keep suppressing when that's not the answer.
And
So
I didn't mean to cut you off, honey, but when you said that, and it's so hard too, not only when we think about it dealing with image, but when we're raised to be respectful.
That's it.
And we want to respect our parents or our grandparents or whoever it was that was our guardianship or raised us. And we didn't want to do anything against them, you know, but also too, in doing that, and now we realize as grown women, but you know, when we were young adults and children, all we knew was yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, being respectful. So the fact that you were able to decide enough is enough, you know, because you're absolutely right. We learn about generational curses, right? And so when we talk about generational curses, they always tell you, you know, this is happening. That could be a generational curse. And a lot of that you hear even in the church, you know, so that adds even more of a stigma for you to speak up. Because, you know, you're worried about shame in the church, you're worried about shame in your family. You don't want to be the black sheep of the family. So there's just so many different directions and so many different ways for us to keep things hidden.
Yes. Oh, yes. I definitely was one in church. I was praying to God that he keep my secret, but that's not what God wants. God wants you to take the mask off because he cannot heal your mask. Yeah. And we created trauma to be our identity, and that's not who we are.
Okay, this is getting good, y'all. Okay, so writing about family pain can be deeply personal anyway. What was the hardest part about sharing your story publicly?
The hardest part is that I knew that I was going to get some people upset. But I also knew that my truth was valid. And I stopped being uncomfortable to make others comfortable. And so I had to step into my truth in order to free myself. So regardless if that hurt someone else or not, I had to do that in order to free me. And I tell people, by me stepping into my yes, it helps free someone else. So that's why I came forth with my story. It was difficult. I'm not going to tell a story because me and God, we had a conversation because I thought he healed me for me. But when he told me to go back and tell the world my why, I was terrified. But at the same time, I understood that everything that I encountered, it wasn't just for me. It was for somebody else. And so that's why I stepped into my yes.
And when I'm talking to my life coaching clients and some that are trying to break the cycle themselves in different ways, I call that, you said stepping into your yes, but I call it your moment to be selfish.
That's right. That
because
too.
When you are stepping into your yes and you're finding that healing for you, you got to be selfish.
That's right.
When all of those outside voices and all that outside noise has been quiet and dormant all these years because you was walking the straight line that they wanted you to walk.
That's right.
Start getting louder. So you have to stand firm and stand strong in your power, find your power, stay in it so that you can get what you need to do to get healed and be on the other side of things.
Oh, yeah. I was definitely in my selfish season for about 7 years because I needed that for me, you know. But after that 7 years, that's when God told me, okay, now go back. After 7 years, he said, now go back. And I'm like, go back. I'm like, but he also told me it's not for you. It's for your bloodline. And even though I stepped away from my family, because I've been away from my entire family for over 13 years, but I had to do that for me and what comes from me, because I'm building my legacy, you know, without pain. I'm building my legacy so that the generations that come from me will never have to unlearn trauma like I had to.
Yes, it stops with you. That's and when you said 7, the one thing that I kept hearing was completion. So that makes perfect sense. That was not done that was done on purpose. That's what I'm trying to say. So that 70 was done on purpose. So how did your family respond when they learned about the book and your decision to speak out about what you had gone through?
Well, of course they were upset in the beginning. It wasn't a good response. And I accepted that then, because sometimes when you feel the backlash, some people, it will push you back into a corner. Yeah. But I fought that because at the end of the day, I told myself, as well as God told me, that once you keep talking, that your family is going to resonate with what you're saying. And even though you can't save them from the trauma that happened to them, by you speaking, they will start to heal themselves. And so I just continue to speak, whether they like it or not.
Yes. And also, too, that's just you being obedient to what God told you to do.
That's right.
So now in your book, we talk about different forms of hurt that can come from family. What are some of the most common patterns that you've seen, or that people may think is something normal, but it's actually a pattern?
Right. For number one is emotional abandonment. That's for number one. Because we get so tied up into our everyday life that we only provide and we don't be present. So my first episode that I spoke on was, are you present while you providing? Because you can provide all day long, but are you present at the same time? And so we're so caught up in survival mode that we don't forget to be present. And so that was the biggest thing for me, because I know that being emotionally abandoned when I was younger, it made me feel invisible. And so that is one of the most common traumas that people experience, especially in our household and especially with our young children.
And it again reminds me of our parents and how they had to work so hard, sometimes 2 and 3 jobs to support the family. And in their mind, they don't look at it as emotional abandonment, because I'm doing what I needed to do. You had food on the table, you had this, you had that and everything. But sometimes what you really needed was just to have them there. So I think that's important, because I don't think that a lot of people recognize that. I remember my father passed away back in 1994. And I grieved a long time because I was daddy's girl. It was like God and then my dad, And I thought that because I was 24 years old when he passed away, that I was grieving, but I didn't have any issues.
Yeah.
So years and years later, when I went to therapy, and guys, I do recommend therapy because it is wonderful. I went to therapy, and my therapist told me, she said, I think you have abandonment issues. I was looking at her like, what? Abandonment issues? And she said, yeah. And so we started to unpack that where my dad was concerned. I never looked at him passing away as me having abandonment issues, because I had him until I was 24. But the way that he died so suddenly, there was no closure and that whole thing. So it was a whole lot to unpack. And in that, you do start to kind of look at your relationship and your bonds and stuff a lot closer. So I'm glad that you mentioned that as far as emotional abandonment, because he was there for me. I didn't want for nothing. Household was taking care of everything. But there are some times where I realized that emotionally, I would have rather had that instead of like a new car or a new purse or whatever it is. But also, too, as I've grown more into myself, he could only love me in the way that he knew how to love me. So I had to give him grace for that, So I'm glad that you brought that up, because it's so important for people to recognize that it's not always transparent or black and white.
Right. And see, a lot of people, they're looking for someone to blame for their hurt as well. You hurt me, mom hurt me, dad hurt me, sister hurt me, this family period. But however, the hurt is actually the pattern, because we only get exactly what they got. That's just what it is. They They pass the trauma down like it's a family heirloom, because that's all that they have. They had no language for trauma. And when you don't have a language for trauma, you don't see trauma, and it's normalized. And so that's what I do is we break down. I have a show, it's called Life of Mother, that I do on Facebook every Sunday at 8 p.m. sharp. And I break down definitions pertaining to trauma, because once you name the trauma, you can start to see the trauma. And once you see the trauma, you can start recognizing that you hold the pattern. And when you recognize that, you can start to break the cycle.
Yes. So now many people struggle with guilt when setting boundaries with family. How can someone begin to release that guilt?
To release the guilt is you have to feel. That's number one, is you have to feel, and you have to know that that's what it is guilt. And then you have to step into your power, because your voice is your power. Regardless of whoever says what, that is where you find your power, is when you speak your truth. And so I tell people, yes, we may hurt when we talk and speak our truth, but that is to unpack from us. We have to unpack what we're holding. And if it's guilt that we're holding, we're always going to be feeling guilty and walking on eggshells. And that's not how we're supposed to live. I lived in guilt for so many years, and I tell people that was deteriorating me from the inside out, because I was holding guilt, and it wasn't even my guilt to really hold, and so I had to release that. And in order to release it, I had to talk about it. So that's where you uproot the power, because trauma is holding power within your body, your nervous system. And the only way to release that is you have to feel. And in order to feel, you have to speak.
Yes. So what are some early signs that you might be in a toxic family dynamic, even if it doesn't seem obvious at first? Because like you said, so many times we're used to it. So we don't know it's toxic. That's all we know.
Absolutely. For number one is when you shrinking yourself all the time. You make yourself feel lesser than when someone else is around to make them feel comfortable. When you walking on eggshells all the time, you don't want to speak because you feel like you're going to hurt somebody's feelings, and another sign is that you get punished for speaking your truth, So those are early signs that you are in trauma, even in relationships, family, so those are definitely signs when you are in trauma. When you try to set a boundary, I tell people, learn healthy boundaries. That's your protection. That's your protection.
So how can generational traumas or unhealed pain get passed down, and what can we do to stop it?
Oh, well, unhealed trauma gets passed down even in the womb, because your womb becomes your wound. And so when your parents dealt with anything that went unhealed, they birthed you into that. That's why trauma is so normalized. And so we don't know the difference until we know the difference, meaning that you hear something and then you start to really dive deep into the research of it. And I tell people, trauma, a lot of people like to put trauma in a big old bubble. It's not. You have to cut that thing up like it's a piece of pie, and you got to touch every piece of it. It's so many definitions pertaining to trauma, and there's so much that we hold, but we can't knock trauma out in just one big session. And so in order to break trauma, you have to put a voice to trauma. In order to break a cycle, you have to put a voice to the cycle that you're carrying.
And also you have to be in the place where you're willing.
That's right.
Where you're truly, truly willing to do the work, because it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Now, healing is a process. What were some of the first steps you took on your own journey towards healing?
To know that I had a problem. That was number one. I had to stop telling myself that I was fine when I really wasn't. I tell people that you don't know the pain that's behind a smile. And I became a perfectionist at smiling when I was hurting deeply inside. And so I had to stop pretending that something wasn't wrong with me. And that was my first step, is saying something is not right. I need to stump the stigma and not be scared to go sit and talk to someone. Trauma is just like a cage. It is definitely a cage. And so I was willing to go sit and stump the stigma about what society says about who Mona is. I had to drop everything that I created myself to be in order to make others feel comfortable. So that's what I did. I stumped the stigma. I went to go get the help that I needed. And that was the biggest blessing. Stepping into a therapist's office was huge for me. I tell people that you don't realize the chains and the shackles that you're holding until you sit in front of someone with the tools.
Yes.
The tools that you need. So I was very blessed in order to just stump the stigma of what society says, that we are not to talk to other people about our problems, and go talk to someone.
Yes. And I agree with you, honey. That was the best thing personally for me, because I didn't even realize that I was walking around holding so much.
Yeah.
Because like you said, it felt normal. So when I sat down with this woman who did not know me, didn't know anything about me, and she broke it down to me, and I was kind of looking at her like, why are you all up in my business like this? But I was so appreciative because it uncovered so many things that has made me such a better person. And even with my life coaching, it's made me more, I think, have more empathy and true understanding, even when I'm working with my clients, where before I might have been able to understand, but I was still kind of like, well, girl, you could have done a little bit better. You could have done this or done that. So it really, really helped me to become a better woman and to become full circle.
Yes.
So I think it's important. Now, I know you say some things about forgiveness in your book. How do you define forgiveness when it comes to family hurt?
Yes. So you're going to find forgiveness first when you forgive yourself. That opens the door to forgive others. Because for so many years, people tell us that we have to forgive them. We have to forgive them. And that keeps us in a cycle, because sometimes you may not be ready to forgive them. And so once my therapist told me, have you ever thought about forgiving yourself? Now, one thing about it, I'm like, wait, I didn't do anything wrong. Why am I forgiving myself?
Yes.
But the key thing that she said to me was, forgive yourself for not knowing. Forgive yourself for not knowing that you carry trauma patterns that was unknowingly passed to you. That alone allowed me grace to forgive the people that hurt me.
Now, along those same lines, how can you have forgiveness for someone that doesn't even acknowledge the pain that they put you through?
Right. And so I did it for me. It's not for them. I had to accept apologies that I never got.
Yes.
And sometimes we keep ourselves stuck because we're waiting on closure. Sometimes you will never get that closure. So what I had to do was go within myself, and I just had to say to myself, Lord, forgive them for what they not know what they do. They didn't know what they were doing. So even though they may never give me closure, they may never apologize to me, I accept that. And that was my initiative for forgiveness for that.
Yes, and freedom for yourself.
That was it. That was the freedom that I needed. So sometimes you have to accept apologies that you will never get.
And be okay with it.
And be okay.
And see, that's the hard part for me, because, I'm still a work in progress, girl. And I'll be like, well, I remember I used to always say to my mama, why I always got to be the bigger person,
Yeah.
Like I'm always the one that's got to do things the right way. So that's something that I'm still working on. I don't so much concern myself with the apologies that I haven't received, but and I'm doing better with letting things go. But honey, my mama would tell you, my daughter is the sweetest person in the world, but she will hold a grudge forever.
Wow.
And I've come a long way, but I also, in my learning, learn that sometimes that can be a trauma response too.
Yeah, right.
So it's something how you can go down the little list of things with your own personality. And when you start doing research and, you know, trying to learn more things, you learn, well, wait a minute, that's a trauma response. That's a trauma response. Maybe I do need to go to therapy, you know? So it's important. That's why I say transparency is important.
Oh, yeah.
Now, in all of this with breaking the cycle, what role has faith played or community support played with you as you've been on your journey to break the cycle?
Absolutely. It's been amazing. It's been amazing. One thing that I'm appreciative is because God allowed me to create my family. He allowed me to create a family, the family that I need, the family that I'm not chasing my worth for, you know, that they see me for who I am. And that helps a lot because, you know, after stripping myself from that identity that trauma created within myself, that I created, and I didn't know who Mona was. I didn't know what I liked. I didn't know nothing about who I was. I was who everybody else wanted me to be. And so by me allowing to meet community, they're no longer just strangers that come into my life, but the family that I need, you know. And so community has been a huge part of my healing. And so with them coming to me, I am able to share my journey with them and get them started in order to see the patterns that they hold so that we can so I can help them start to break the cycle. And so when I tell you that it's a beautiful the encounters that I meet is just so amazing. It's so amazing, you know, and I'm thankful for God giving me a second chance because I am a transformational rape survivor as well as a suicide survivor. So I'm here, you know, God kept me on this earth to tell the world my why, to help each individual that resonate with me to start to pop their why bubble.
Yes. So what advice would you give to someone who feels stuck in their pain but wants to start to heal?
Yes. Step forth. You know, trust yourself and know that your story is valid. Know that you matter and you are not alone. So yes, step forth and just know that God is going to be with you, but he's not going to do the work for you. I tell people, it's going to take you to save you. So nobody else is coming to save you but you. Yes. So yes, step forth.
Absolutely. So Mona, how would you say your life's changed since breaking the cycle and now seeing yourself on the other side of things, so to speak?
Yes. My life has changed beautifully. Oh my goodness. It was like once I stepped into my healing journey, and because, you know, once you see that you touch one person, that's enough for me. You know, if I can just touch one person, then I was obedient to what God called me to do. Yes. And so my life has flourished. My life has been beautiful. But one thing I do know, and I'm so appreciative of, is that I was able to touch my daughter. Yes. I was able to help my child, you know, and we were able to drop and unlearn the trauma that was instilled in us. And so me and her, we have Bible study, like, you know, the definitions that I put out on my show every week, I sit down with her and I explain to her, this is what I'm talking about on my show, because if nobody else gets it, I need my daughter to get it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So for people that are reading your book, what's one message or affirmation you want them to take away from your book?
Oh, is that one affirmation definitely is that the pain don't have to win. Don't let the pain win. Yep.
That right there, honey. Yes. And look, this has been my new thing, keeping up with my nieces, honey. You got to clock that.
Yes.
That T right there.
Yeah. Don't let your pain win.
I think that that's so important. And also what you said a few minutes ago about just stepping forward.
That's right.
Something that sounds so simple, but when you are in the midst of your healing,
yes,
it can be the hardest thing to do. And it makes me a little bit emotional because even just saying that, it takes me back to when I didn't know better.
Yeah.
You know, and now that I do know better, and I think about all of the stuff and situations that I had purposely put myself in, girl, that's for a whole nother show. It takes you back. It does.
It does. It does. And I also tell people, when you hear because I let people know I'm not meant for everybody. Yeah. I'm meant for who's for me, you know. And if you can resonate with me and you hear the things that I talk about and how I break down trauma, and if you decide not to change, then you're choosing not to change at that point, because you cannot unhear what you heard.
That's right. So, Mona, tell us, what's next for you? Any more upcoming projects, workshops, or another book perhaps in the works?
Yes. You know, I'm not going to give all away. I'm not going to give all the tea away, but look, God is definitely filling my calendar for 2026. But I do have next week, November 8th, I made it to New York's Times Square billboard. So I get to see my picture on the billboard in New York Times Square for the work that I'm doing. So I am so honored. I am so thankful. And it's not my doing. I tell people I'm just a vessel. I'm just a vessel that God is allowing me to be a part of his kingdom, to build for his kingdom. So that's what I'm doing. Yes.
And you know what, though? But that's right on task with everything, because you were obedient.
Yes.
And that's the one thing. And I know people that's on my Facebook, my clients, I know they get tired of me saying that be obedient, be obedient. But I'm serious. No matter how crazy it looks, no matter how wild it sounds,
right,
be obedient, because I always tell them, nobody heard that conversation between you and God.
That's right. That's right.
So you got to have a crazy faith.
Yes.
You and God talked about. And the fact that you are going to have this experience next week in New York is a testament to that. And congratulations. I'm so excited for you. And like I told you when we were talking before we started, there's a whole lot of things that's happening, honey, a whole lot of doors and stuff that are going to be opening up for you. And I'm just glad that you are in your season to be able to. That's the beautiful thing, because a lot of times we worry about, well, I've been putting this work in, I've been putting that work in, and this, that, and the other. But honey, you got to be in your season.
Yes.
Nothing is happening until you're in your season.
That's right. And God want to see how faithful you are, you know, to hold on and keep going. Like you said, even when it don't seem right, even when it don't make sense, because God is not going to give you the instructions. I tell people to make uncertainty your friend. Make uncertainty your friend, because that's where all the blessings at.
Absolutely. So now, where can listeners connect with you or purchase Break the Cycle?
Yes, absolutely. So Break the Cycle, How to Heal When You've Been Hurt by Family. You can find it on Amazon. And if you look up, my author's name is Mona Griffin. And also you can follow me on Facebook. My name is Mona Griffin, the same on Facebook. And I also have a YouTube channel. It's called Life Unmothered 77. So if you look up that and follow me, I have all my videos that I've done so far. They're uploaded to a YouTube channel. And so I'm honored. I'm thankful to be a part of the show tonight. And just thank you for having me tonight. And I just pray that this message touch someone to step into their selfish season.
Yes. Yes. And it's
Step
been
into
an
your
absolute
season.
pleasure having you here with me. And I knew that it was meant to be, because like I said, I had been wanting to get with you, but this was happening, that was happening.
Yeah.
Taking on too much stuff at one time, like we tend to do sometimes.
Yes.
But the reason why I know without a doubt that it was time for us, because when you said obedience, anytime somebody talks about being obedient, no matter what it looked like, honey, my ears perk up. And I'm like, okay, so that's the sister. We in alignment and we don't even realize it yet. You know, it's like one of those situations where, you know, across the room, I felt your energy and I was like, yeah. She and I connect. We gonna click real well. So I appreciate you sharing space with me tonight. And please, you're welcome back any other time that you want to come back with your projects. I'm to support you. Now, as we're wrapping up, is there any final thoughts or encouragement that you want to give to those that are beginning their healing journey?
Yes. So my final thought is, it's not going to be easy because healing is not pretty. But what I will tell you, that at the end of your tunnel is a beautiful light. And you can live outside of trauma. You just got to be willing to do the work. So I encourage you, even when it gets tough, keep going. Don't give up. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on your legacy, you know, because there is someone that's coming after you that's going to need your freedom, that's going to need your truth and your self-expression. So keep going, because it's not just for you, it's for the next generation.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Mona, for sharing your insights and thoughts and telling about your book. This has been a powerful conversation. Mona reminded us that healing from family hurt isn't about pretending it didn't happen. It's about choosing yourself, breaking the cycle, and giving yourself permission to live free. If today's episode spoke to you, I encourage you to grab a copy of Mona's book, Break the Cycle, How to Heal When You Have Been Hurt by Family. You can also connect with her on social media and follow her journey and her mission to help others heal. And as always, thank you for tuning in to Moments with Myra. Remember, you deserve peace, you deserve healing, and you have the power to rewrite your story. Until next time, take care of your heart and keep shining.
I said what I said. I am not afraid. I'm a manly man, baby, get a dog if you're scared. I said what I said. I'm black like Bernie Mac. I am not afraid. I'm a manly man. Maybe get a dog if you scared. Cats stay on the porch. I only run with thoroughbreds. I said what I said, I'm black like Bernie Mac. I am not afraid, I'm a manly man. Maybe get a dog if you scared, cats stay on the porch. Dear racism, let me be transparent. No more Mr. Nice Guy, I am not my grandparents. Fed up, enough is enough. Like for real, what's up? Both middle fingers up. We've been waiting on Dr. King's dream, but that knee on Floyd's neck got me leaning more towards Malcolm X. By any means, and you ain't seen nothing yet. You reap what you sow, so you know what to expect, ho. What you expect, I have supreme intellect. So when I call you out your name, it's with all disrespect. Since you wouldn't heed when we tried a peaceful protest, now we're gonna need you to shut up and cut the check. Too many victims to name, so sick of these attacks, and no amount of reparations could ever bring them back. Now before you fix your mouth to talk about them bootstraps, know this whole mother was built on my ancestors' back. You probably say I'm not a Christian and my words lack tact. So in Jesus' name I pray your grandbabies be black. When you can't sleep and count sheep, I hope they be black. And in your dreams see me kicking this rap at the deep pack. In a room filled with brothers and sisters, we be packed, screaming, wake up, thirsty, your coffee and tea black, like a Tootsie Roll, whatever you think you see black. Ever haunted by the ghosts of those murdered in ski masks? Shame that they had to die to be free at last. Land of the free, huh? We don't believe that trash. No matter how low the price go, keep your gas. And unless I'm buying black, I'ma keep my cash. Collectively, let me speak on the black people's behalf. You wouldn't listen, now you wanna talk, we'll pass. Y'all funny like Harlem Nights, making us laugh like Deloise kiss our entire, yeah. I said what I said, I'm black, like Bernie Mac. I am not afraid, I'm a manly man. Maybe get a dog if you scared. Cats stay on the porch, I only run with thoroughbreds, yeah. I said what I said, I'm black, like Bernie Mac. I am not afraid, I'm a manly man. Maybe get a dog if you scared. Cats stay on the porch, I only run with thoroughbreds. I said what I said, I'm black, like Bernie Mac. I am not afraid, I'm a manly man. Get a dog if you scared. I only run with thoroughbreds. I said what I said, black, like Bernie Mac. I am not afraid, I'm a manly man. Maybe get a dog if you scared. Cats stay on the porch, I only run with thoroughbreds. Now say his name, say her name, say his name. No justice, name, no peace. We don't need no racist, no police. No justice, name, no peace. We don't need no racist, no police. Yeah, say their name. I said what I said. No racist, name. I am not afraid. Say their name. No peace. We prepared like we ain't scared. We ain't scared, yeah. I said what I said, I'm black, like Bernie Mac. I am not afraid, I'm a manly man. Maybe get a dog if you're scared. Cats stay on the porch, I only run with thoroughbreds.